I'm Kathy Johnson. I live at 22280 Bering Avenue, Farmington. In a December 30th, 2025 interview with Olivia Worcester, who's a journalist with a local, statewide business journal, Representative Patty Acom is championed smart regulations for hyperscale data centers. Patty Acom is the co-chair of the House Energy Committee for the state of Minnesota. She's concerned about many things, among which are Minnesota state tax dollar giveaway as incentives for data centers from the tax coffers and right into the pockets of powerful tech companies. Real environmental protection coordinated with the DNR instead of working solely with municipalities for water permits. She's concerned about the need for thorough environmental reviews instead of the AUAR, and this is a quote, which has shared dismay across the aisle from legislators as a less than effective environmental review. No resident input because of NDAs, which should not be allowed after the land price is negotiated. Who does Representative Acom point to as a great example of problematic planning? She points specifically to the city of Farmington and the location of Tract's data center on a former golf course. Direct quote, "Is it appropriate to put a data center on a golf course that is completely surrounded by residential zoning? That makes zero sense to me." That's because it makes zero sense. Yet the mayor and city council are clearly working for the best interest of an out-of-state developer. A developer who wants to make big bucks and then leave town with the risk borne by local residents who Hoyt and the council are claiming to represent. When the chair of the Minnesota House of Representatives Energy Committee singles out Farmington's planned data centers as one that makes zero sense, I'd say our town, led by Mayor Hoyt, is developing quite a reputation at the state legislature, and not one that you should be proud of. Thank you.
I'm Nancy Arstead, Beaumont Avenue. This is a photo taken from Highway 42 north of the Meta Data Center in Rosemont under construction. This is what it looks like right now at night. This is only 1/3 the size of the planned Farmington campus. I respectfully ask that your camera person expand view so those at home can see this. The sky's washed out, the horizon is glowing. This is light pollution on a scale that most residents have never experienced. The building setback here is 900 feet from this spot. 900, that's 3 football fields. Even at this distance, look at the intense light. This is a photo, the next one is taken from the west. The building setback from this point is 1,395, and yet look at what it looks like. The building will be 4.5 football fields away from this road. The problem? What you approved here for us is a mere 250-foot building setback right next to homes. Your decision was to push an industrial-scale construction site and its lighting into the daily lives of families who did not sign up to live next to an all-night stadium. And here's the part that everyone in Farmington should know. The city has confirmed there are no light limits and no noise limits for residents during construction. 5 to 10 years estimate, none. No enforceable standards, no requirement that lights be shielded, no decibel caps. And after construction, continued bright permanent security lighting all over the campus. When you voted this in, you didn't just approve the project, you approved the suffering that comes with it, and then you made sure residents had no practical remedy. And that's why there's a lawsuit. Let's talk about what 250 feet mean. The enormous 50-foot tall buildings, which will each cover a footprint of almost 5 football fields, and we'll get 10 to 12 of them, will be set a mere 250 feet back, but the lights won't be. Construction lighting goes where the work is, all along the perimeter, near cranes, truck routes, storage, wherever the crews need it. Would you want to live next to this? And then comes the permanent lighting. Those lights will end up far closer than the setback number. I'm asking for a council member to step up and make some motions. Will anyone move to direct staff to change your zoning rules so that data centers are not in a permitted use in MUCI and instead are limited to industrial zoning? Because this is industrial. Have that conversation. Ask staff to create some design standards for data centers to protect Farmington residents from future developers. Protect the people. That's what I'm asking you to do. Who will do it? Second, the extension for Tract's final plat is coming up on May 18th, 2026. And I already know what we're going to hear. This is standard. Extensions are routine. No. If the plat isn't recorded, the approval becomes void unless you grant an extension. It's not automatic. It allows renegotiation. That is why extensions exist. A lot has changed in the last 2 years. We have clear evidence of what these projects bring: light pollution, heavy construction impacts, noise, and quality of life damage that residents are forced to absorb. So granting an extension on a plat almost 2 years later is not routine. Your residents deserve better. If Tract wants to move forward, they can come back with terms that actually protect people. Use this moment. Do not extend the plat. Make them renegotiate. And then initiate a PUD Amendment 2. Protect the people. This is your job. Who is going to do it? If Tract is serious about being good neighbors, they should be willing to accept updated conditions that reflect today's reality. Send them these photos. I will email them all to you tonight. Imagine moving this line all the way up to here, and then imagine you live next to it. That's what you are doing to us. Rosemont gets 900 feet from a highway. We get 250 feet from a bedroom window. Don't extend the plat. Renegotiate it for the people you serve. Please care. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Schottler. I live at 22420 Calico Court, Farmington, Minnesota. I'm here to talk about the Farmington Technology Park. No residents are in harm's way without a data center. You put this data center in residential neighborhoods, you're putting residents directly in the path of harm. Think about that. No residents are in harm's way without it. Your budget might be. People aren't. You put this in a neighborhood, residents are in harm's way. Little kids. This picture is from the Meta facility in Rosemount. It was taken around a month ago from over 1,300 feet away. Please look at this. Do you see the never-ending glare through the trees and berms? At 1,300 feet, the light is an uncomfortable reality you're introducing into residential areas, but at only 250 feet. What do you imagine a facility 3 times the size of Meta with less than a third of the buffers and setbacks will look like in residential? Do you think they will only light up a building at 250 feet away from homes, or do you think they will light up the entire parcel from corner to corner like they are allowed to, unrestricted during the 5 to 10 year construction period? Can you picture daylight for 5 to 10 years in your neighborhoods? Imagine a heavy industrial construction site 3 times the size of Meta, literally starting at your fence in your backyards. Is that okay or acceptable in your residential neighborhoods for 5 to 10 years? Think of your children here. We're thinking of our children here. You're not. Businesses across Minnesota and the country experienced power issues and power curtailment over the last week and a half due to extreme low temperatures. Hospitals, refineries, and other businesses all over Minnesota have been forced to run generators for almost a week straight. Dakota Electric and Great River Energy issued warnings to reduce your total power consumption due to a fragile and strained grid, along with transmission issues during the extreme cold. Now, Dakota Electric and Great River Energy have promised power to the Cannon Falls Technology Park as well. What will happen once it's built and we experience these same power shortage issues? I'll tell you, we'll see the smoke roll out at 250 diesel generators. We'll hear the obnoxious hum from their exhaust and the crackling buzz of the generation of 700 megawatts of power in the middle of 2 neighborhoods. The generators will produce more power than the Monticello nuclear plant. Are you seriously okay with that in a residential setting? The dangers associated with generating that much power are not conducive or safe to residential living. How well will all of your families sleep at night with 250 generators the size of semis running? They'll all run each time there's a power struggle. You'll soon be asked to grant another extension to Tract. They need you to extend the recording of the final plat and PUD. Deny this request, make them start over or go away. We are your residents. We make Farmington the amazing place it is to live in, not them. We're your neighbors, your people, and we'll fight to protect our families and yours. Look at the data, Josh. 33% of tech parks are going to self-generate power by 2030. They're going to self-generate power by 2030. Are you going to allow them to self-generate 700 megawatts of power in a residential environment next to homes? Will we get a turbine generator next? Maybe some small nuke plants? Get real. This is exactly why zoning and the approved land use terminology needs to be updated. This is clearly a heavy industrial project by all measures of size and resource consumption and belong in a heavy industrial area. Put a moratorium on them while this PUD and plat are not recorded, because then they are affected. Have them come back and do something responsible. Our fire department, by absolutely no fault of their own, is not prepared, trained, or equipped with the right tools, products, or knowledge to fight a fire that can include over 1 million gallons of diesel fuel, 700 megawatt capable battery backup systems, an electrical fire on something of this scale. You simply cannot protect us from the size of disaster that something like this can create this close to our homes. The safety of residents needs to outweigh your desires for additional revenue. Why don't you look up the evacuation distance when these lithium battery backup systems start on fire? Look it up. They're going to put these battery backup systems, 700 megawatt capable, in a residential neighborhood. Look up the evacuation distance and what's safe. You're not even allowing enough room for a first responder. They can't even stand in my yard when one of these systems lights on fire because that's too close for the initial fire. What do you have? Some common sense. Don't renew this application. Get them to go back to the board and think about your residents. People are in harm's way if you allow this, and it will be your fault.
Terry Pearson, 2475 225th Street West. This is a photo of the Meta site in Rosemont taken 500 feet from the substation. Now, according to the proposed Farmington Technology Park layout, there could be a substation 3 times that size, 50 feet from my property line. I went in search of distances that were 50 feet because I can't quite figure out what that is. So this chamber from back to front may be 50 or 60 feet. A 3-car garage, if you had 2 3-car garages, end to end would be wider than 50 feet. 4 car lanes on an interstate highway are approximately 50 feet. That's without the turn lanes and etc. So one very clear example to help visualize this distance is that of a baseball diamond. I think everybody knows what that looks like. And it's 90 feet square with the pitcher's mound that is 60 feet from home base. In 6th grade, my record softball throw was 95 feet. I'm decades older and could probably throw a ball only half as far as my record throw. So, if I stood on my property line and threw the ball 50 feet toward the proposed substation in the Technology Park substation, it would hit it. And this should be example enough that the substation is dangerously close to residential homes. Who would allow that? Who would live there? Would any of you?
David Pritzloff, 20255 Aiken Road. January 20th, I attended a coalition meeting in Apple Valley. Just to point out, I didn't see any of the council members there. But we listened to some good people talk about electric. If we're gonna have blackouts, as Jeff and these people are saying, they're gonna make their own electricity in the future. We don't have that now. Why do we want to put ourselves into that? I mean, we're a small community, and you hear of California having blackouts in other states. We don't need to create that here. We also talk, there's also people talking about the water and how much water that facility is going to use. And I brought up to them, City of Farmington is on a water restriction. I can't water my grass between 12 and 6 o'clock, and I can only do it on odd even days. These people will be pumping water 24/7, 365 days a year. They get that okayed, I suggest everybody water their grass anytime. That's just pulling water out of the aquifers like there's no tomorrow. And if you're not going to put any limits on that, you don't see the light of day. Also brought up that, but I brought this up at one other meeting. Apparently, you really don't care about the heritage of Farmington, because I got a good feeling that you suck that much water out of the aquifers, you can say goodbye to the trout stream that we're known for. That's our heritage. It goes back longer than any of us have been alive. And you're willing to throw that down the tubes. That's ridiculous. Now I got a request for you. I'd like to have the coalition with the people that were there at that meeting, have it set up here at a meeting, and have you people listen to the sound of what this would sound like a half a mile away from this data center. City of Farmington has a noise ordinance, I believe, right? All I need is, I don't want to get in a debate, I just need a show of a hand or a head. If I were to go out and start working as a business, my business, and running my gas powered air compressor, if I did that at 6 o'clock in the morning, would I be in violation of the noise ordinance? Simple yes or no. It's not a debate. Would I be in violation of the ordinance? Okay, well, there is a noise ordinance, and I can tell you that when I was on the council, we had over on Highway 50, by an automotive place over there, a refrigeration truck running for overnight. And we had the residents come in and complain about that, and they lived across the street. They lived right next to it, and they came and complained. Now, if we have a noise ordinance and we did something about it back then, what are you going to do to the people who live within a half a mile of this place? I mean, you're talking everybody north of 50 all the way up to those townhomes behind Palici Hardware. You're talking all these people in South Farmington. They're all going to hear this. There was also a representation of what this would sound like 3 miles away. But at a half a mile, it blew me out of my shoes. I'm like, I went up to the people, that's 24/7, that noise, it's a solid humming noise. I couldn't believe it. If you're willing to throw that at your residents, you have no mindset as to what's going on here. Extension? I wouldn't give them an extension. When I was on the council, when we approved developments, we didn't do the work for them, they did the work. And if they didn't do it in time, that's where it's at. I don't believe they need an extension. I wouldn't grant them an extension. One more thing off topic. This 5-minute thing you did is ridiculous. I would like every taxpayer to pay 1/5 of their taxes and see how far you get. It's discrimination, because somebody could come up here and not, you laugh, Mayor.
It's discrimination.
Some people could come up here and not talk as fast as the other, and you're discriminating against those people. The elderly people might not be able to talk as fast as somebody else. Let us pay 1/5 for our taxes and stop discriminating.
Nate Ryan, live here in Farmington. Mayor and council, nice to see you. It's been a while. I've been busy with family things, but I definitely want to get back up here and talk about a few things. So one of the things I'd like to talk about is moratorium. I brought this up before for this project. Two quick things. I am for data centers. Okay, I think that we should build them. They're fantastic. They bring in lots of tax revenue, so you can all spend it on what neat toys and things that the city needs, and raise your, on top of hopefully not raising our taxes any more than you already do. But I'm for them. Let's build them. But we should build them where they belong, right? That open site that we have on Pilot Knob would be a great spot, not here. And the reason I bring up moratorium again is because we have an opportunity coming up, and there's an opportunity right now. The attorney said, well, no, there's an approval, so that way you can't have a moratorium. But I've been really digging into this. There's no building approval, right? There's no building approval whatsoever. Yes, they have zoning approval, but that's been delayed over a year, and it's going to get delayed likely again. You have to go and get an extension on that. There is an opportunity for a moratorium, and you can have it for a year. So, and I'm just curious, if you would have implemented that moratorium, been sued by Tract, would you be more or less ahead now with the lawsuit that you already have in place? Instead, what's the trade-off here? Along with that, the moratorium can happen. It is something that you as a city could do. And that moratorium can last for up to a year, and you can place a moratorium for research purposes. And I know that you haven't done your research because you classified this property as mixed-use commercial industrial versus purely industrial. Josh is famous for saying, well, let the process play out. You didn't even let the process play out. If you really wanted that process to play out, why didn't you require an EIS? Why did you just get by with an AUAR? Right? If you're so confident of the process, then bring us through the full process that an industrial project should have. And without that process, without that process, how do we know that we're, the entities, the DNR, the Pollution Control Agency, the Met Council, how do we know that they actually had enough information to make informed decisions without an EIS? So another reason I think that you would really want to have a moratorium is what happened in Elko New Market when a water bottling facility came to town. So they went and they did some testing on their municipal well, and they did some testing in the load factor that they placed on the aquifer, and it caused something called well interference. What's really interesting about well interference, and I'm sure you guys have done all the research for this because you're amazing negotiators and really good at finding all the little tiny details and all this stuff, but that well interference, because you're the water supplier, not Tract or not the developer, because you're that water supplier, you would be on the hook for that any interference that was caused to any of the wells around this project. If you had the developer put in and drill their own wells, then they would be on the hook for it. And it's right on the DNR website. You can read about well interference. It's something that should be there. And to me, that single thing alone, and if you look at what happened in Elko New Market, when a bottling company wanted to come just bottle water, and now the claims that they're paying for well interference and the lawsuits that are happening down there, that should be by itself reason for you to enact a moratorium. That should be what it is. I don't think that all of you were prepared to go up somebody who like the current developer, who saw you as prey and saw you as an easy target. And just that single thing, just that well interference, they're licking their chops. Like, yeah, we can use as much water as we want. If we go over, sure, we might get fined, but you're ultimately responsible for holding the bag. And truthfully, it's not you. It's all of us. It's all the taxpayers that are in this room. The last thing I'm going to say, and I don't care if I get cut off, this 5-minute timer and all this stuff, we live in a constitutional republic. We have First Amendment rights. You, Mr. Mayor, signed up to protect those. Every single one of you, when you took your oath of office, said that you would protect those from enemies, foreign and domestic. And here you are.
That's fine, Nate. We'll ask you to leave then.
You're taking that away from us. You're taking our First Amendment rights away from us. We should be able to come up here and talk to government.
You can be done, Nate, or I'll have you removed.
Have that time. And it's gross. It's
Nate?
disgusting. It's absolutely absurd that you want to take away our First Amendment rights by force, Mr. Ryan. It's absolutely incredible that that's what you're doing, Mr. Ryan.
Walk into an airport and yell bomb and see what happens, Nate.
No, that's not the same difference.
Yeah, okay.
It's not protected by the First
Yeah. Okay,
Basic.
you're done.
Because I respect you, I will leave.
It is ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. It's,
Put a timer on people. The council.
As somebody who-
Of a taxpayer
David?
time, I
David?
figure you have every right.
David, are you done?
deviate from that.
You're right. As the presider of the meeting, I have the statutory authority to do it. And as I explained at the last meeting, I went well beyond in numerous cases regardless of subject matter, and it was abused. Even at the last 2 meetings ago when we started it, which us as peers had that conversation, I wanted it to go. We were asked about moving citizen comments so it didn't become a disruption. But when people come to the podium and they abuse it, flat out abuse it, then rules have to be put in place, David. I don't like them, but that's how you maintain decorum and order. And this isn't a, stop, David, stop.
Tell me to stop.
I will tell you to stop. This is an official meeting. You have served on council and you understand how it works.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was acting mayor, and I let it go on because sometimes.
David, you're done.
Things take longer to discuss.
Yes, they
I
do.
was in your shoes, and I let
Yes,
it go
they do.
longer because I had the time. I dedicated myself to the taxpayers, not to make sure I got home at 5 o'clock or 7 o'clock, 7:30, whatever time you guys.
So now you're the procurer of our time? Yeah. We made a decision as a council to maintain decorum. And in that first meeting, Kathy, she was the first one that extended. That's fine. It gets abused. We have to hold decorum. That's how rules work. Otherwise, it's just a free-for-all. Everybody just does what they want when they want, and then what? It becomes a fucking circus.
It already,
Yeah.
it already is.
And yet you keep coming.
Yeah, fuck yeah, to make a difference.
Okay.
To try to make a difference. You're jeopardizing the health and the well-being of my family, and you don't give a shit. I walk back there and they're sitting there smirking and smiling after I said, you're putting families in harm's way with a data center. Show me the fucking families that are in harm's way without a
Mayor,
data center.
Mayor, can we take a recess?
Without a data center?
No.
Why don't you shut the
Hey.
white people up? You racist son of a bitch.
Oh.
You just say to call me out?
There we go.
You just want a brown person up there? You
No.
get picked up by the police? I see
I-
how it is.
I will go into recess.
Them out.
Now the truth's coming out. Now the emotions are coming out.
Yeah, well, they've been here from day one. I've shown it to you from the first time I walked in this fucking hall, right? From the first time I walked in this hall, I said, come meet me outside then. I've been very clear with you from day one. I've given you all the emotion that I can every time, right? I'm not cheating. I'm not hiding nothing from you. I give you the same emotion and effect every time. I try to be professional for the people of this town so they can understand what you guys are doing and not look like a lunatic, but you're actually driving people insane. You're making...
Mayor, I'd make a motion that we recess at 8:02.
I second.
Motion by Steve, second by Holly. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're in recess at 8:02.